Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy Holistic Spiritual Transformation Podcast. Today, I have the privilege of introducing you to TimBridges, a business professional. He is a results-driven professional with 8 years in retail and 16 years of experience in pipeline construction, specialty services, and successfully building since seven-figure businesses. Throughout his career, he has gained valuable insights in business and life and has built a strong network of like-minded leaders. Today, he will talk to us about Optimum Ideation. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Miss Beverly. I appreciate you for having me on the show.
Sure. Well, let's start first with what is ideation?
Yeah. Well, the terminology, of course, is pretty simple, but it's coming up with ideas, right? And so I formed a podcast called Optimum Ideation, and it's, the best of human ideation, the best of human ideas. And so I've been hunting many people just like yourself, and just, how can we take all these different thoughts and different thought leaders and their ideas and record them and share them with the younger generations, so that way they get a head start on what we weren't given. And a lot of it has to do with emotional intelligence, but just general knowledge as well, and things that we've taken years studying and finding out for ourselves. Can we shave those layers off of them quicker with sharing our insights? And so that's kind of what our show has been about.
So what's your transformational story? How did you get started with this? This is a unique goal that you have.
Yeah. I was talking to some people earlier, and we're all different. We all come from different backgrounds. I just turned 40 on Friday. And so going backwards, I was telling this gentleman, I can remember some of my first memories, maybe 4 or 5 years old, standing at a bank with my mother, and she was trying to pay some bill and she was coming up short. And so we wound up leaving. She was torn up about this, right? And I didn't have a father, so she didn't have anyone else. It was just me and her. And it just kind of stuck with me, was how can I make more money as a young man? And I was young. I remember picking up pennies and I could do to like come up with ideas to make money. And so it kind of led me on this journey throughout my life to just gather knowledge, gather all these different ideas, seeing these people that were doing things. And what we had was maybe TV and radio. We didn't have the internet, growing up. We didn't have like a source where we could just go source info or go check an idea, maybe dictionaries. I was always like studying and reading, and as I got older, just finding out businessmen like, hey, this guy's got great ideas. How can I take this knowledge and implement it? And just gathering up all these different things. And then when I got into the internet, it was like, boom, just a waterfall of info and a lot of insomnia and not sleeping and just learning. And so it kind of led me on this path to entrepreneurship and becoming a better person and shaving off the layers that really kind of hold people back and hold people down. Is how can we get past that? It's through truth and knowledge, and so just this whole path that I've been on my whole life has just kind of led me to this point, and I always wanted to help more people, and this is a good way to do it.
Yeah, my story is a little different, but the result is the same. I've been a seeker of information, but I predate TV.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time at the library. I was even a volunteer at the library because I was into the books so much,
Yeah.
because books and magazine were your only way. That and well, I lived in Germany for a while. There was Radio Free Europe, so that was the only radio there was.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was very limited on how to get your information.
Right. Right.
Whereas Googling everything now, and now with the AI, Chat GPT is pretty awesome. It'll just
Yeah.
do research in seconds. You've been able to do massive amounts of research now in minutes.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So, sharing these types of things, because a lot of people that are your age are not into this stuff. They don't even know what
Oh
it
yeah.
is,
I
you
have friends
know?
that don't even have a smartphone.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's just, if they're that way, and then you got to think how many people don't even have access to the internet? How
Yeah.
many people don't even have TVs? How many people
I don't
don't
have a
have
TV.
books or libraries around the world? And
Hmm.
so you really you hone all that down, and you feel like, because we know these things, that all these other people know these things and they don't, because how many people are limited to the internet? How many people just watch funny videos on the internet instead of like actually trying to learn things? How many people will watch people, get beat up, or that's what they watch? They're
Yeah, they
not
watch
watching.
TikTok and crap. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not diving into these new programs like ChatGPT or any of these things, and really, or the awesome video editing things that they have now, all these animation tools that they have now. They're just not even, they're afraid of it. It's foreign to them. They're not even trying to get to this point, right? And then, all
I
the people.
actually had,
Yeah.
when I was in Chandler, I had a patient who had no phone, no credit cards, no car, no TV. He would go to a payphone to make his appointment. He took the bus to my office and he paid in cash.
Yeah.
There are people like that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're about to get swept under the rug here in a few months, if they start, if they do implement this, central bank digital currency, then it's just going to sweep the rug out from, half the population that has no
Not going to
idea,
happen.
you know. I mean, that, or any number of things that are happening right now behind the scenes. It's just, there's so much sweeping the rug type of stuff they're trying to pull on everyone.
Did you ever read Larry Niven? He's a science fiction writer. His current work I'm not crazy about, but his early work, he predicted so much of what's going on today. So if you read
Yeah.
him in the 60s, he was talking about organ leggers, which are people that bootlegged organs. He
Yeah.
was saying people would have this watch and it would be everything on the watch and there would be no cash. And so there would be this underground population that wasn't part of it. And then there
Right.
would be the rest of the world. And no one went to work anymore. If you needed money, you would just log in and you would say, give me a job, and someone would say, do this, and you would do it, and they'd give you money, and then you could use the money to buy whatever you needed, and then it was sent to you. That's
Yeah.
the world he talked about back then. And
Yeah.
that's the world we live in today. You have the
Yeah.
homeless that have nothing, and then you have the people who are like us that are blessed. We have the internet and connection and a computer, and we can order things online. I mean, everything he predicted, it's here.
Yeah. I just wonder how many times have we done this? If we are somewhat of infinite beings, how many times has this happened before?
Well, it happens over and over so that we can grow as a soul. And the ultimate goal is to be able to get to the point where we can create this. 3D doesn't exist, right? It's not real. We think it's real because our senses tell us it's real. It's not real. It's just our consciousness is put into this environment. We have eyes that makes us think we can see. We have ears that make us think we can hear. We have touch and feeling that makes us think we can feel something solid. It's not there. And if we can grow and develop as a species to live in this 3D with our consciousness, think how awesome it could be. Because if we're just this etheric spiritual being, you can't touch someone, you can't pet a dog, you can't hug somebody, you can't feel the grass, you can't feel the sun, you can't look at the moon at night. The things that exist in this environment, they like sitting at the beach with the sand in your toes and watching a sunset. I mean, that's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
You can't do that when you're just an etheric being with no physical body. So
Yeah.
being in this environment gives us as a soul something to do where we can express our feelings. But we have to learn how to control ourselves and our feelings. And when we start to discover what the universe is made of and how it's made and create our own artificial intelligence, we have to learn how to control that. And that's what we're doing. So we get to a point where we're ready to advance spiritually, and we do. And those who are not ready have to keep going through and relearning and growing their soul and developing it until they're ready for that next level.
Yeah.
And so some of us, we're about to split. The earth is going through a transformation, and some people are going like this. And you watch on TV and you see these people just dropping over. They're going into the dark side.
Whoa.
That's what's happening. It's not the C word, Ovid,
Yeah.
that's doing it. It's they're going to the dark side versus going to the light side.
Wow.
That's what's happening. So because we're still here, we're going up to the light. Our frequency is increasing. Our vibration is increasing. We measure it with frequency. We frequently say it's our frequency, but it's our vibration is increasing. And those people that are not increasing are going to the lower level.
Wow.
So I'm sorry. I hope you don't hear that. I forgot to mute my phone there. I muted my phone. So our purpose through our evolution. So we live multiple lives. And if you don't believe it, that's okay. Anybody that says, no, there's no reincarnation, that's okay. You don't have to believe it. But I remember my past lives. So trust me.
Yeah. Well, I've had a few death experiences. So I feel like maybe that's what maybe put me on this path was I was born with asthmatic bronchitis.
Mhm.
And so at maybe 3 years old or so, some of my earliest memories are just laying in bed at night and just choking on my own mucus
Wow.
and, passing. And just, I remember just coming to terms with death
Mhm.
and at a very young age. And I feel like that kind of changed me. And,
Well, yeah.
and, and so, just, I really loved life. I really loved, just getting to know people and really appreciated and was grateful for the time that I have here.
Yeah. Every
And
day is a gift.
yeah, and just going and realizing that everyone else is not like that was just a real, I was always kind of off to the side with society, but had a love for them, wanted to help everyone and understand. But going back to what you were saying, so to me, growing up, I played a lot of video games. And so it feels to me almost like if we are essentially a video game, I mean, somebody's playing us. We are some character in someone else's game. And then here we are. I love to code and create these games myself now. So if I create a game, then I can play that. And then how many times has this happened? So, how many realities are there of these people that they get smart enough, they create this virtual reality, and then you got another virtual reality. This is just like an ongoing thing. And I love that there was like a theory of someone that said um, it would be crazy to think that we are not a creation of someone else. Like out of all the infinite, you know, amount of time and years that humans have been around, it would be crazy to think that we are not some creation of someone else, right? And because look at the short amount of time that we've had, let's say, the internet and developed these video games ourselves. Look at what we're already doing. We're already developing virtual realities and augmented realities. What are the odds that we aren't already that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that really brought it home to me, my daughter was living in Hong Kong when my granddaughter was born, and she wanted me to be there. So I spent a month in Hong Kong. And in Hong Kong, everything is up high. So I was up high looking down, and I was watching the people on the street, and I did a double take because I saw people who didn't have a soul.
Wow.
And I went, what the hell? Now I was afraid to say anything to anyone because I thought, okay, I'm getting weird. And even I think I'm weird sometimes. But then I met someone else who said the same thing. And I went, you saw it too. And it's
Whoa.
like some of the people are like props in a game. They're there to fill in, to make it look real, but they're
Yeah.
not really there. And then my daughter likes to play games. I don't do a lot of games. And so I played this one game with her. I don't remember the name of it. It was a while ago, but you create a character. I created a shaman, and she
Yeah.
was a warrior. And of course, shamans can rejuvenate, bring warriors back to life. So I was a warrior, and she had me tag along. And then when you wanted to leave the game, you would park your character, your avatar someplace so it would be safe. And
Yeah.
then you'd come back later. And I thought, how do I know that's not happening now? How do I know if I say, oh, I don't like what I did, I want to go back and redo it? How do I know that didn't happen?
Right.
Because this isn't real. And I could have, whoever did this could have restarted the game and sent me back to where I made that decision so I could change it. And it's
Yeah.
like, whoa. And I'm to the point where I can see through things. And when you have a near death experience, as you're starting to die, everything you start to see through things, you see the white light and everything, nothing here, it all goes away. And it's like, why do people think this is real?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. So many layers of that. Somebody said there's, 70% of the people in the world are just like on autopilot. And then you've got like 20% of the people that are actually like creating things and making things happen. And then you got like 10% that understand everything that's going on. And, back to the non-playable character that you're talking about, and it's just kind of wild. Like people are so programmed to the point where it's like you can't discuss anything with people because they get Agent Smith on you, and it's
Yeah.
just really bonkers to me that you can't just have a normal conversation like we are and just
It's
talk
not in
about
their
things.
programming in some cases. And when they're not even awake.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll say something and what comes out of their mouth is incoherent because they're just a prop. And then they'll wake up. And then all of a sudden they don't know where they are and they're confused. But so many people today are like this. And
Yeah.
you cannot even try to change their mind because they're so programmed. And I don't know if that means they're not really here, or in some cases I see a soul, but it could be their soul has been taken over somehow or controlled. It's
Yeah.
not a free soul. Whereas those that have woken up now, frequently those of us that are awake have all had NDEs, and
Yeah.
more people today have had a near-death experience, and you hear about it more and more. Whereas when I was young, you never heard about anybody having an NDE. But now it's much more common, especially among people who are awake or they've been awake since they were a child. They woke up and they were awake.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know for sure any answers. I can only go by my own experience. And if you haven't had those experiences, it's hard to relate.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, years go by after your experience and you kind of fade back into what everybody else has going on. And so then you stumble upon some other methods to have other experiences like that. And then boom, it's just like layers just rip off of you, and you're like, okay, wow, you know, this is what death is, and we are infinite, and we are love.
Mhm.
And I feel like we get covered up with so much hatred and anger and fear from just all the programming, from the media.
I listened to a great lecture today by Bruce Lipton. I studied with him. I took his workshops back in the 90s. So I listened to him being interviewed, and I listened to an interview today, and he was talking about how most humans today are programmed in their first 7 years, and they're programmed to fear death.
Yeah.
Well, fear is the opposite of love. If you're in fear, you're
Yeah.
not in love. If you're in love, you're not in fear. And he talked about the emotional implications of that. But think about when you fall in love. What he was saying is all of a sudden you change, the world is perfect, and because you're in love. And when you drop out of that, what are you in? You're in fear of death. Well, when you've had a near-death experience, you're no longer in fear. So
Right.
now you can be in love all the time because and you love
Yeah.
life, you love people, because you realize that's all you have to do in this life,
Yeah.
to be in love, because there is no fear, there is no death.
Yeah. That to me is the meaning of life, is to love,
Mhm.
and to transmute darkness
Mhm.
into love. And that's the meaning of this life. And the more you do it, the more you're blessed.
I think some of us are here to transmute, some of us are here to, I'm going to say, heal ourselves, because when you heal yourself, it heals others.
Yeah.
And the way you heal someone else is, what I find is, something will go wrong with me and I'll have to figure out how to fix it. Next
Right.
thing I know, I've got patients with that problem coming to see
Yeah.
me. Oh, I know what to do for that.
Exactly.
Then something else will break, and then, oh, now I've got patients like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes that's why we're here too.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
you
And
could
in
say that's
business, yeah.
transforming to light.
Yeah, in business, I mean, it's a whole lot of negativity and dealing with all these different parties and players, and you got to mold all these things to make it all work, and it's a lot of transmutation to make these things happen, and find the common grounds. And so I feel like that's why I really enjoy it, is because of the challenge, the difficulty, but also you help people along the way, and
Mhm.
not only in their business, but you help
In
them
their life.
specifically.
Yeah,
And that's a lot of joy in that for me.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's a Buddhist belief that you should never take away someone's job.
Yeah.
That taking away their livelihood is actually, they consider that, they don't have sin, but that would be the Christian equivalent of a sin. Um, Never take away someone's job. But in today's market, right, someone will create a business, someone else will buy it, and they lay everybody off and they just steal the technology. Well, you just hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, and I've been through a lot of those, and help companies grow double, triple what they're making, and then boom, they get sold. And then I've had my whole office, like 35 people, laid off, and that was a hard thing for me to get over. It was a very hard thing for me to forgive those involved.
Mm.
And yeah, I completely agree with you. Um, and the that forgiveness, it took one of those trips to get away from that, and get over that, because I don't know that I could have gotten through that without it. It was really weighing me down for years.
Yeah, it's hard for some people. they will identify with their job and they think it's safe.
Yeah.
And when it's not safe and it goes away, you feel violated.
Yeah.
It's really scary for people.
Especially when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, making the company grow and,
Uh-huh.
doubling, tripling things. And you think, hey, man, we're doing good. I'll be here forever. Boom, gone, 2 months later, just sell the place.
So you like to talk a lot about the human condition and collective humanity. So one of my things that I pray about a lot is the fact that there's so many people on earth that are either homeless or even more who go hungry, especially children.
Right.
So talk about that and your perspective on that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, using my stage or my platform, I've interviewed two people and tied them together for ending veteran homelessness by
Mm,
2030.
mm,
And so being able to tie these two players together, and find more people like this. Also, I interviewed someone about food forest. And so they actually design your yard, which we're all taught, hey, you got to grow this beautiful lawn here, right?
yeah,
And
no,
kill those dandelion weeds,
that are
when in
good for
fact,
you.
yeah, and in fact, you can eat everything on a dandelion, and each part of it does something well for you. I think the roots are good for your skin. The flowers are tasty and sweet, and good for your liver. And so, we're taught to grow this lawn here. Well, what if you were taught to grow a food forest where it's almost self-sufficient and you have everything from mushrooms to all your veggies, and why aren't we taught these type of things? So, using my stage to grab people like this and share them with the world, people with ideas like growing microgreens and stuff like this, uh, to where you can become self-sufficient, or even like an off-grid person who built something up north. Her and her husband built Off-Grid Adventure, and so it's a campgrounds where they teach you how they're living, and they've got like wind power and solar panels and living off grid, and they help share their message with the world. They just did an off-grid expo, first one probably ever, and had all these vendors come in with all the power generation type things that you can do, and cabins, build quick cabins, stuff like this. But why are these things not talked about so much? And so I'm trying to use what I've got, which is not much, but how can I grab all these ideas and share them to help a larger community, right? And so, because the human condition, like we already talked about, if 70% of the world is just on like autopilot and just plugged in, what about these other things? At least have an idea about it, at least see this thing and think, man, maybe I should grab some chickens, or, maybe I should start growing some simple things in the yard here. Just these simple ideas that lead to more. And if we don't talk about them, then who is, right?
Yeah, I used to live in Maricopa County when I was in Chandler. I'm now in Yavapai County, but Maricopa County is where Phoenix is, in the greater metro Phoenix area. And there's a lot of homeowners associations there, HOAs, and they say, oh, you can't have chickens. So
Yeah.
Maricopa County a few years ago passed a law that you cannot deny a person having chickens in their backyard.
Good.
So a lot of people are now growing. I took out my grass front and back, and I put in 3 huge gardens. One of them was 12 foot
Perfect.
long. I miss those
Yeah.
little teeny house with a little yard now.
Yeah.
I'm still working on my outdoor garden, but I have my indoor garden going. So I
Good.
have my
Yeah,
lettuce
yeah,
and my
that's
bok
right.
choy and tomatoes and peppers.
Yeah, I've got some of that over there outside too. Um, but yeah, so it's not that hard to do these things.
Mm.
And the chickens, it's been proven, I think in Belgium, they introduced chickens to the public, and it cut down on tons and tons of waste going into their landfills,
Hmm.
because the chickens will eat all these scraps,
They'll eat
and then you
anything.
don't have that waste. You don't
They
have it
eat
go.
meat scraps too.
Yeah, I mean,
And you know what else? They're really good at prepping the dirt. So if you want to put in a garden, put your chickens over the area where you want to prep the dirt, and the chickens will peck the dirt and loosen it all up
yeah,
and encourage the worms to grow.
yeah, yeah.
And then their
It's
poop
just,
fertilizes it.
yeah, well, that's the food forest. And so, yeah, I wound up becoming a affiliate of this group, and so they're all over the North America
Oh,
continent.
nice.
And so, uh, if you're interested, get you a free design done. They'll sit down with you for 30 minutes and design it, and
Wow. What are they
it's
called?
just uh, food forest abundance.
Food Forest Abundance.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So yeah. But how can we tie all the things that we love and share all these things and help them and help ourselves? Well, you can do affiliate programs of these companies that you like.
That's
And
true.
yeah,
Yeah,
and so we've got a few of those partnerships in place. Got
great.
third party people behind me.
Third party people. That's your podcast, right? Third party
This
people.
is where I host the podcast from. And
Okay.
so it's kind of a catch-all, and it's actually our design company. So we have a monthly unlimited design service that we're promoting now. And so pay for a month. If you only need one little design, well, it might take a day or two. You can pause it and pick it back up when you need more design work.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and
Doesn't
so
have to be contiguous.
exactly. And so, if you want to do an annual, we can do an annual, and you can save some money off the top, you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you're like me, you've been researching history
Yeah.
and leaders and
Yeah.
origins of technology. And now they're finding all kinds of technology that's been
Yes.
buried underground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
All
they're
over the
finding that some of the ruins around the world are actually melted buildings and things.
yeah.
So talk a little about that.
Yeah. So, I loved a lot of the leaders. I studied a lot of the leaders in school and afterwards, their sayings, and and then after that, I got into religions. I started studying religions, all the different religions. And then after that, I got a little bit more spiritual, and I got more into like India and some of the Hinduism. And then, started looking at these temples. I started seeing how they're constructed, and I'm just amazed at why aren't we taught these amazingly beautiful buildings? Like, why are we not taught these things or even shown the images of these things?
Yeah.
All across Asia and India and Africa, and they show the Great Pyramid, but what about all the other thousands of pyramids that are in Africa? And so
All over the world.
exactly. All over the world. In the
Yeah.
United States, people don't know that there's pyramids here,
Yeah.
and even the Grand Canyon has all the
Egyptian
uh,
stuff.
yeah, they have the names of all the same pyramids over there in Egypt. Why aren't people talking about these things, and why don't more people know about this? You got um, uh, ISIS and all these other names in the Grand Canyon, and then they're off limits to the public. So, what's really going on here? Why suppress this information? What is the point? Or what are we hiding here?
Yeah.
And then how was all this stuff created anyways? It's so gigantic in nature, and so it's almost like it takes a giant to create these things. So what are we really suppressing? by keeping this information out of the public's eye. Is there
Well,
giants?
there were giants. They're all bones are now all in the Smithsonian Museum basement.
Yeah, yeah. And there's people trying to get them out of there, but they're not being successful. But yeah, so how were these temples created? What were their purpose? And there's some of them with moving fixtures inside of them in India. And so it's almost like if you were to, let's say, hit it with a frequency or a vibration, that you could maybe get this thing to move, like a Vimana. Or, is there another nature to these pyramids? Was it for creating chemicals? Because it's from Kemet, right? And so were these things really for what they're saying they are, is a tomb, or is it really a big industrial chemical plant?
No bodies have ever been found in any pyramid.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were not burial grounds. And you go inside and there's no writings on the walls like in the tombs. In the tombs, they have writings on the walls. In the
Right.
pyramid, there's no writing in there.
Right. And and then we find out, these pyramids actually help the farmlands grow better. So why are we removing pyramids? Why are we not having more pyramids if it's so good for the nature around it and the humans around it for healing? Then why don't we have more of these? Why is this not being used? Why do we keep putting these big square buildings up and building houses in squares if a pyramid is a healing shape?
Mhm.
And then you also get into the Catholic, the buildings. Is it cathode, where they actually like energy systems, the construction of these things in a certain manner, with the ether going through the windows of these Catholic churches. And is it really a healing center if you were to, let's say, remove the glass, the stained glass that they're so famous for? If you remove that and install the bells back in there, and let's say we ring the bells and
Actually, the colored windows are good. And then the spires are to bring in the electric energy.
yeah,
And the bells had the frequency of the chakras.
yeah,
And so the ringing of the bells would balance out your chakras and you would get the energy, because you need more energy to heal than just to be alive. So you need to add energy to the body, and that's what it would do.
yeah.
So yeah.
So, I mean, I think we can all agree that you step into one of these massive churches, you feel better. You feel better in any big, large space like this with the pointed at the top.
Cathedrals in Europe, when I walked in those, it's a different energy, and it always struck me, why are there no pews?
Yeah.
These are not normal buildings, and they're not church. I've been in a lot of churches. This is not like a church.
Yeah.
A cathedral is a different energy space, and there's no pews. They
Yeah.
were not churches.
Yeah.
Not
And there's
churches.
some pictures that if you dig deep enough, you'll see that there's some pieces removed from the center of these buildings as well.
Oh, I
And
haven't seen that.
yeah, and so it's almost like a like a capacitor, like it would collect
Hold the energy.
yeah, and so
Okay.
those were removed. Some of the large arcs that you see all over the place, they're in the shape of like a large magnet, right? So maybe there's something to that as well. There's some pictures that show in the center of these large arches, like let's say in France, the Arc de whatever.
Arc de Triomphe.
There was some images of some kind of capacitor or something in the center of those in the past. And so it's like, why get rid of all this technology? Why is all this not not being allowed to exist, I guess.
Well, it doesn't fit the paradigm that they programmed us with.
Yeah.
We're programmed to think you have one life and that's it. And when you die, you're dead. So you better be good or you're going to hell.
Yeah.
And no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And heaven is inside of us. And so, or hell, depending on which
We
path
create
you
heaven and
decide.
hell in our own existence based on our thoughts.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I've existed in both of those in my life.
Yeah.
But how can we get more of the heaven, right?
So where do you want to go next? What's your vision for the future?
Um, well, ultimately, with what I'd like to do is, my goal is always to help as many people as I can. And so trying to use these stages that I have for that. Um, but honestly, the companies that I'm building, they're really to for my kids. I mean, whatever I do is going to be a shadow, it's going to be a drop in the pail compared to what my kids accomplish. We've homeschooled 3 kids while we built these, 6 and 7 figure businesses, but it's for them. And so we get to teach them all these cool things that we're learning, all this AI tech that we're utilizing now in business, and they're playing with it now at 8, 5, and 4. And so they're creators already. They design their own clothes and things like this already. And so they're already designing games. My 5-year-old is building Roblox games already, and I'm helping them out now. But ultimately, I'd love to pass these things off to them and help them with their desire, which is creating video games. And so,
Nice.
yeah, so I think that's the end goal is
When
to
I
have.
worked at Fairchild Cameron Instrument, they had I forget what the name of their game thing was. They had a game console back when the Atari days. And
Yeah,
they said, if you submit a game idea to us, we will give you if we accept it. So I sent them a game idea and they get
yeah.
one. So I won a thing.
Oh,
One
yes.
time I won a computer. I don't know where I was, some kind of fair or something. So we brought it home. This was the early days of computers.
Yeah,
So we had my husband, I was married then, he hooked it up to the TV. That was the monitor. We just gave it to my daughter. And she came to me one day and she says, "How do I use the tape deck?" I says, "I don't know. You'll have to figure it out." She did. She figured out everything. She made the whole thing work. So if you just let kids go,
yes.
they'll do it. They'll
Yeah,
figure it all out. They'll play with it. They'll have fun with it, do whatever. And then they're ready. Now she's, of course, very successful. She's an adult now. I have a granddaughter.
yeah,
But yeah, so that's great. You're doing that with your kids because when they grow up, they're not limited by their negative thinking.
yeah.
They're now, oh, I can create, I can do
Exactly.
whatever in whatever field I'm interested in.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I had always wished I had someone doing that for me. And
Mhm.
I felt like I never had that, that assistance my whole life. Um, Up until I met my wife.
They took music and art out of school.
Yeah.
And music and art teach logic, discipline, creativity, and they make you better at math.
Yeah.
And so if you want to be a scientist, study music and art.
Yeah.
It is terrible they took that out of school. And then I had someone come up to me and said, what's really bad is they never teach us history of the last 50 years in school anymore. And I thought what was really sad is that's called political science. And she didn't know the difference
Wow.
between
Yeah.
poli sci and history. That's what they're not teaching kids anymore.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how can you fix something that you don't even know about?
You don't even know it's broken. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually raised, I told you, by my grandparents. Well, my grandfather was an international professional painter. And
Mm.
so I got to watch him
Art
sculpt.
paint. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he
Artist,
would
art
acrylic
painting.
paint.
Ah,
And so he had some paintbrushes that had one
wood
one
bristle. Yeah.
horsehair.
You'll do a little
and
dot.
yeah, and so he would really get detailed. And so actually have some of his art, around the home now. It was hard when he passed. That really put me in a bad
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
But I felt like he was the only one that really got me.
Oh, that's
And
sad.
but to be able to have him growing up, it just give me a whole different outlook on,
Yeah.
life as well.
Yeah, it will. I think one of the problems with people moving around so much is in the past, we knew our grandparents and our great grandparents, even. I mean, I knew great aunts, great uncles, great grandparents. I didn't know great great, but I did know great. And you learn something and you get an energy from them that you don't get from parents.
Yeah.
Parents are too busy trying to grow up and lead their life and earn a living. Your grandparents have learned to just let go.
Yeah.
It's a different energy,
Yeah.
And it's sad that so many people don't get that anymore. A lot of people don't even know who mom and dad are. Maybe they were adopted or they only have one parent. Um, Instead of having that dynamic where you've got 2 and 3 generations living together, supporting each other, helping each other,
Right.
and you have a lot of family history,
Yeah.
and you lose all of that when everybody's moving around and disconnected,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. That's
that's
one
really
thing.
sad.
Yeah, I didn't want my kids to ever have to deal with that. And so I've
Mhm.
been blessed to step out and do these businesses and get by, until now, and be able to raise these guys, and I know my kids. And it's been such a blessing. And I wish that more people could
Mhm.
experience that. But it just seems that most people don't even want to. They want to put their kids in school and they want to go to work and they want to have their life and they want to go drink or do whatever they want to do. And for me, I'd just as soon pass all that up for this experience that I've experienced right now. It's just been priceless.
Yeah, you don't have your kids forever. You have them for just a few years, and then they have their life. And if you didn't spend time with them, giving them your values,
Yeah,
what values do they grow up with?
exactly.
And I know I never taught my daughter not to do drugs, but I never did drugs.
Yeah,
And when she was in high school, I found out she was going around talking to her fellow. She was in some kind of program where she would talk to other students about not doing drugs.
good.
And I thought, wow, that's really cool that you do that volunteer work.
Yeah, yeah,
But I never taught her that. She learned that because mom didn't do drugs.
yeah. And how rare is it now for people to, let's say, not drink or not do drugs? It's
Yeah,
just ridiculous at this point. Like,
yeah, it is.
society is so broken, and to subject your kids to God knows what is happening in these schools right now. It's
All the
just
fentanyl
it's
and the
scary.
drag
Yeah,
queens and
yeah.
and
It's
now they're
just
arresting parents if they fight it.
exactly, and it's just bizarre. It's a clown
Yeah,
world out there, and so
well, it's not funny though.
no, it's really sad. It's the
Yeah,
saddest thing that we could ever experience, I think.
yeah, yeah. Destroying your children is destroying the future.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's a smart approach to increase income or a smart business? What does that mean?
Okay. Well, we talked a lot about the AI technology that's available now.
Mhm.
So, how can we implement these things to really speed up what we've got going? So, um, a lot of any kind of company that you're going to build is going to need marketing. So, how can we implement things like CRM technology for managing your clients or your customers, relationships? Having a system in place to put all your contacts in there and keep up notes with them. It helps you because if as you scale up, you've got other people that you're putting on, and they can pick up where you left off if you want to give them that contact. Or let's say you're doing this video right now, you'll have to edit it later. Well, now there's great video editing software that can take out all the ums out of this program right now. And so
There
you
is?
just, yeah, yeah. So it's free for like an hour. And most of these programs are testing right now and they're free for a little bit. So you could literally plug this recording into Descript, and Descript will grab all the text out of it, put it on the side, and it'll show you all the ums, and you just click a button and it will take all the ums out of there, and it can put a space in there, or it could actually just close that gap and shorten your video just immediately, boom, like that. And so you could also chop it up and edit it right there, so you have a finished product all in one spot. It can take clips out of there, the highlights out of there, and then you got all your highlight clips right there. You could stick your video into video.ai, and it'll highlight all these clips out of there, and it'll put text to it, so that way you could just share it from that location right to your social medias. And all these things are integrated and automated, and so you're saving all this time in editing and doing these things by these simple, subscriptions, if you will, save you hours out of your life. And time is more valuable than money. And so if you implement things like ChatGPT, boom, you have a headline of your article. Now you can make an article really fast. You can grab your text out of there and slap it in there. You can put your video link in there. Now you got a whole blog that's already done for you. You could do so much with just these simple things. Even just the social medias alone are pretty impressive, that we have now. And so just using these tools to really help out your business, catch attention, because that's what we all have to do, is let people know what we're doing. And capturing data is most important. So using the CRMs to capture your data, all these different tools, you combine them all, you're making money pretty fast compared to the old days. We're on a phone and we're doing this, and we're doing a lot of this, we're writing it down on paper, and where's that go? Probably in the trash can a few months from now.
Yeah.
So capturing all that data and really using it for your advantage, right? And so that's kind of the point of the third party people, is you can just add me to your payroll and boom, we're doing all these things, and how valuable is that? And
Very valuable.
yeah. And so and then my wife's take on it is, all right, we've got them taken care of on the tech side. Now we need to dress them and give them natural beauty stuff to take care of them. So now it's like, all right, you go to third party people, and we're just empowering busy business professionals with lifestyle products and efficient services. And that's what our partnership is.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow.
And anybody
But-
can do it. We've got all the affiliate program stuff to help people get going if they want to use our platform, or we can help them build it themselves. And that's what it's all
Nice.
about. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people starting over now, so I'm sure that that would be a help to people just getting started. So you also have a free gift, free business ideation and planning. Tell us about
Yes.
that.
So that's actually a whole blog. So if what I just said resonates with anyone, I take you from step A, which is you could use my platform, all the products, all the services, and go market it yourself. And you could already start from day one earning income through affiliate links. So anybody comes in and purchases through the link, you're making money, and but it walks you through how to do it, how to take images and put them online and market it. And it also will show you all the AI software that I was just spouting out right now. There's 100 different sites that I've collected and put them. So you go through the lesson plan 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 is all these links where you could go. You go take surveys if you want, and you could be earning income right now. So
Wow.
because once you're in business, as you have to have revenue streams to make it. Because if
Yeah.
you're just relying on one thing, you're relying on that one thing.
It could
And if
go
it doesn't
away.
happen, it's not happening.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're using some of these affiliate links and partnering with other companies that do the same thing, which I've got on that list, then now you got products, services, you got all these different things where if anybody's clicking on these links and it's all coming in and you're making some revenue off of that while you're doing your service and building your company. And then this lesson 4 in there is an actual business plan. So if you're going to start a business, don't start it without a business plan.
Yeah.
Go look at the free business plan that I put together for you. It's a simple walkthrough, and you fill out the info there. And before you know it, you got the calculations, you got the math, and now you know what's most important. And number one most important is your marketing, and that's what service we offer. So
Great.
Yeah.
So if you're listening on YouTube, the link will be down below. And if you're listening to the podcast, you want to go to 3RD, thirdpartypeople.com/blogs/business. So that's pretty easy to remember.
Yeah.
thirdpartypeople.com/blogs/business. And that third is the 3RD, not spelled out.
Right.
Wonderful. Right. So Tim, do you have any closing remarks for the audience?
Well, I wish everyone the best life possible, because we're all going through tough times. And if there's something that I said that resonates with anyone and they want to contact me, Miss Beverly, you probably know I'm pretty down to earth. And I like to give everybody, a 30 minutes of the most extreme value I can provide in that short period of time. And so that's just what I like to offer to people. It doesn't matter what background you got. I'm trying to help as many people as want to work with me. So
wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you for being our guest speaker this time. And thank you all for joining us on the Holistic Transformation. And remember to be the light you want to see in the world.